Hey, Cub fans! Thanks for joining us here on Cubs 24/7, where Randy talks Cubs. We're going to talk baseball more today. I came across this, I'm going to call it a new rule. I hadn't heard about it, went to research it. It's kind of interesting, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So, to do that, I'm going to work in reverse. And the reason I found it interesting was when I started to think about the rule, why it's in place, it started to make sense to me. So I wanted to kind of give you guys that experience. So let's just kick back. I want to talk about being old school. And I consider myself old school in a lot of ways, but I'm also a baseball enthusiast. There's been a lot of rule changes in the course of my baseball fandom career that I've really liked. So it's not that I'm opposed to the way things are and the way things are going, but in some ways, I like the way things used to be. For example, I miss when Fergie Jenkins used to go 9 complete innings. I miss the days when a starting pitcher, the staff, those guys in the rotation were the stars, and you would sort of check the lineups for the day, and the pitching matchups were something that was important. And that's sort of gone away. I mean, the pitchers are still stars. Our top guys are stars, but they tend to only go 6 innings on average per start. You go 2 times through the lineup and you pull them and you're into the bullpen, and we've got all of these bullpen games, and we've got openers now and specialists. And I just sort of miss that mindset of having this big hoss that's going to come out and is going to pitch until he gets hit. And so I don't think I'm alone in that. I think there's a lot of people who are kind of miss the old days. Now, at the same time, I understand why we do it. The analytics, in my opinion, have caused us to make these adjustments. So the analytics gets us into the nuances in the cracks and crevices of every little opportunity to create an advantage, and I understand that. So that's why they did it. The analytics tell us that that's how we should do it. But at the same time, the analytics aren't thinking about the fan experience, right? The watching, the idea of watching a baseball game and seeing that pitcher that we came to see. So those two things are kind of working against each other right now, and I'm not alone in this thought process. Commissioner Manfred was quoted here recently as saying, there's a lot of fans who feel like the change from looking at the pitching matchup that we just talked about compared to how we look at it as just the opener has not been a positive fan experience. And I think that's true. I think as we make changes and adjustments in rules, I think it's important that we factor in fan experience. So in an effort to try to compensate for what we just talked about, to first of all accept that I think fans want to see starting pitchers go and pitch, there have been some rules changes, and I just wanted to talk to you about them a little bit. When MLB expanded to the 26-man roster, they put a limit on the pitchers at 13. They also put a limit on the number of times a pitcher can be optioned down in a season. And they also set the minimum injured list stint for pitchers at 15 games compared to 10 games for position players. So these rules are clearly designed to increase the innings that a major league starter goes, but they really haven't done much to impact that to this point. So they're talking about another change. Another change would be to set the roster for a 12 pitcher maximum. And that's likely to happen, probably not this year, but it looks like it's probably going to happen in 2025. So the Cubs need to get a jump start on that. And I think some of the things they need to start thinking about is rules changes are coming, which are going to incentivize or require starting pitchers to go deeper. We need to start developing starting pitchers who are capable of going 6+ innings. I think we need to start thinking about our bullpen as having more optionable pitchers. In fact, that the bullpen is going to be sort of back end heavier than it is now. So it's going to eliminate some of those middle relieving pitching spots. And I think we need to keep in mind now when we're signing pitchers to multi-year pitching deals, that has to come into play. So some of those things are getting ready to happen, but I want to get to the point of this. There are a couple of rules that I think are really interesting. I want to share those with you. So before I tell you the rule, let's talk about how Major League Baseball experiments with rules. We do see experimentation with the affiliated leagues, but the Atlantic League is an independent league, and that league works with Major League Baseball in exchange for Major League Baseball support, and they do a lot of rules experimentations. So there are two rules that I want to share with you. And when you hear these rules, the first response that you might have will be to just put your hands up on them, especially the second one. But I'm going to challenge you to wait and think it through, as a fan to see how this will impact the fan experience of watching a game. And I know I went through some evolution on it when I first heard about it. So the first rule is called the double hook rule. Double hook. And basically the double hook rule is the DH and the starting pitcher are sort of tied together. So the double hook rule would be if you replace the pitcher, the starting pitcher, you now will eliminate your DH, meaning you take the pitcher out, you're taking the DH out, and that DH spot is now replaced with the reliever. So that's a rule incentive to keep a starting pitcher in. They first experimented with it that way. Since then, they've adjusted it, and now here's the current rule. Current rule is if a starting pitcher goes 5 innings or more, and then you pull him, you keep your DH. So it incentivizes the team to throw your starting pitcher through 5 minimum, and it's called the double hook rule. So you can think about that and think about how that would incentivize teams to keep their reliever in and how that would affect the fan experience. The next one I think is really kind of crazy, but I thought it was crazy, but I don't think it's crazy anymore. I think maybe I like it, which is weird because it's when I tell you about it, you're going to think, no way. But then as you think about it, you think, boy, I kind of like to see that, I think. So the rule is called the dropped pitch rule. And basically, it's like a drop third strike, only it's any drop pitch. So any pitch that's not caught in the air by the catcher now becomes live. And you can, and live meaning the hitter can go. So he can literally try to steal first base. If a drop third strike happens and the hitter takes off, he can get thrown out too. So it's not like he's got to get thrown out. So he can literally steal first base on any, we'll call it dropped pitch. If he does steal the base, he's rewarded with a hit. So I'll just let you absorb that for a second. Leadoff man comes up, first pitch, gets in the dirt, bounces off the catcher. He's live. So what will that do? Well, I think it increases the importance of taking care of the ball. And I liken it to a turnover in basketball. You can't just kick the ball out of bounds. So it's like, okay, you got to protect the ball. The ball is important. You've got to catch it. You've got to be in control of it. And it will incentivize pitchers to have command, catchers receiving and blocking skills. It'll also reward athletic players, right? I've been talking a lot about the stealing of bases, the going first to third, the hit and runs, and getting speed more in the game. And it's one of the things I saw a couple games ago with PCA. PCA gets on base and he sort of makes things happen. He scored on a infield hit from second base the other day, and that's exciting baseball. So I find that to be interesting, that it rewards speed and athleticism, which I think is probably a good thing. Here's something else that I thought about as I thought through this. I was thinking about the automated strike, balls and strikes. It's coming. I'm pretty sure it's coming, where pitch framing as a catcher will become obsolete. If the automated balls and strikes are coming, and I say that it is, that means that catchers will no longer be needed to frame. And as we know, catchers' framing skills are really important. So if they're going to lose that, now this particular rule would add to the catcher's importance. A catcher being able to block and handle the ball and throw people out. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I think I like it. I have to watch it. And it's interesting because I just saw Max Scherzer do an interview. And I can't tell you how old the interview was, but Max Scherzer was talking about just the drop third strike. Now, of course, he's coming from a pitcher perspective, right? So Max is all annoyed with the drop third strike, saying that a guy swings at a pitch 2 feet outside, strikes out, and it goes to the backstop, and he gets rewarded. And when you first hear that, you kind of go, well, yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you didn't take care of the baseball. Doesn't there have to be incentive to catch that ball? So that drop third strike rule is sort of the mindset around that. So I just thought it was really interesting. It's been on my mind for a few days. And my rule is, in my head, this is just my personal rule, if I find a topic interesting, and it's interesting enough that I research it, and I complete the research, I kind of do it, I think I'm going to show it to you guys. I think that's my litmus test for a video that I put up here, is if I find it interesting, I'm assuming you guys will too, because we're just baseball fans, right? We're Cub fans, but we're baseball fans at the same time. I started a research project just recently. I got 20 minutes into it, and I got bored. So I quit. It wasn't interesting enough to keep me involved, so I just stopped it. I'm certainly not going to share it with you. So just know that that's my mission. If I come across something that I find interesting, I feel like we all have all of that in common. And I really trust that if I find it interesting, you will too. So I thought this piece was interesting, and I wanted to share it with you, so you guys can write in the comments what you think about it, and talk amongst yourselves there if you want to. But it's just kind of stuff that we see baseball changing, and it's evolving, and I think it's starting to evolve pretty quickly. So I think it's neat that we keep our heads up and sort of look down the road at some things that might be on their way. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. I really enjoyed bringing it to you. It's an interesting topic, and I appreciate you guys hitting that subscription button for me. And I'll be back very soon. Go Cubs, go.